Jesus ended sin, not evil. Sin didn't come about until the flesh fell. Evil has always existed. Before sin entered, before Adam and Eve fell, there was already evil. Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Genesis 1:5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. There was already darkness before Adam and Eve were created. There was also a tree of the knowledge of good and evil before man fell. If Adam and Eve ate of the tree, they would become like those who had the knowledge of good and evil. There were already those who had the knowledge of good and evil, so good and evil existed before Adam and Eve. Jesus never came to end evil. Jesus came to end sin. God created evil. Jesus did not come to end what God created. He came to end what Satan brought. Isaiah 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. God created evil. Jesus did not come to end evil. God made a separation. He gave us free will. Under the law, those who sinned could have their sins forgiven or rolled back each year with a sacrifice, which was a show of Christ, who would come and be the final sacrifice for sin. Those who did evil under the law were killed, and they were stoned or thrown off a cliff. There was a difference. Saying that sin and evil are the same thing would be like saying I ate too many tacos, so I might as well murder someone. Satan brought man down into the cursed flesh. That is where sin was. Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The enmity was between the flesh and the spirit. Romans 8:7. Because the carnal mind is at enmity with God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. Ephesians 2:15. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace. Ephesians 2:16. And that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby with what? Slaying his flesh. Jesus died for their sins. So where was sin? In the flesh. 1 Corinthians 15:3. For I delivered unto you first of all that which I received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures. So Jesus died for their sins, and it was about him crucifying the flesh, because that's where sin was. David said, just being born was a sin. Psalms 51:5. Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. And behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part thou shalt make me to know wisdom. Jesus came in the likeness of sinful flesh. Romans 8:3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. Jesus came in sinful flesh and condemned sin in the flesh, taking away the enmity that Satan brought. Satan brought sin, and it caused them to go to the grave and be separated from God. 1 Corinthians 15:56. The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. Jesus came to fulfill the law and take away the enmity of the strength of sin. Hebrews 2:14. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had power over death, that is, the devil. Jesus came to end the grave. You cannot pour blood on a spirit. It'll go right through it. Jesus could only pour blood on the flesh, on the ground that we were made of. Jesus didn't forgive evil spirits, but he forgave the sin of those who had the truth on the inward parts. Jesus made an end of sin, and when Satan was defeated, sin no longer exists today. Satan is not in heaven to keep us out of heaven anymore. There is no one to accuse us for sin, for our flesh. Revelation 12:10. And I heard a loud voice saying, in heaven now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of the brethren is cast down, which accused them before God day and night. Salvation didn't come until Satan was cast down. When Satan was cast out of heaven, the first resurrection happened. When Satan was destroyed in 70 AD, the world was given back to the Father, because sin no longer separates us from God. The point in Christians was to defeat sin, Satan, and the grave. They were the end of the old world so that we could have God today. We have access to the Father right now, today. Our flesh is no longer at enmity with God. What Jesus and the Christians did for us was the greatest thing that ever happened in this world. Today, people reject that we are reconciled back to the Father, and they still judge for sin in the flesh. For that, they cannot enter heaven. So, what was sin? And what was evil? Or what is evil? Sin was condemned in the flesh. Sin was things accustomed to the flesh. What people eat, drink, wear, watch, listen to, who they sleep with. All these things are flesh and are no longer weighed in the balance against our souls. Evil has always existed and always will. Evil is doing harm to another. All harm starts from a lie and hypocrisy. Evil is things that hurt others' flesh or lie about others' flesh. Evil is murder, rape, molestation, lying, stealing, cheating, manipulating, deceiving. The truth of our world today is that if you don't judge for sin or the flesh, then you cannot do anything evil. You have to judge others' flesh to be less than or more than yours, and you have to become a hypocrite before you can hurt someone else in any way or lie to them. People only lie to hide. They only hide because they feel condemned. My name is DerichJester. God gave me the truth. I'm going to be doing daily Bible lessons here on YouTube and posting them. And check out my books in the description. Check out our Discord link. We all get together on Discord. I also have these written out on Discord in my Bible lessons section. So the link to all these things will be in the description of this video. And stay tuned every day so that I can explain the Bible, because God gave me the understanding of it and our world today. Real Christianity ended in the 1st century. We're the post-Christian Church of God today. We should live for God and God only. And I will prove all of this over and over using tons of scriptures and how to live for God today. Also, thanks for any support. I live off support. So I'll see you on the next one.